Okay, we are live here on the DATAcated show. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're like quadruple streaming at this point because I figured why not. So thank you for joining us across all. I love those gloves, Avery, for across all those platforms. Today we're going to talk to Avery Python Smith. That is, in fact, his new middle name that he just gave himself. And we're going to talk about his new course at the DATAcated Academy of going from data to dashboard with Python Plotly Dash. Before we get into that, I briefly just want to provide a quick overview of the Data to Dashboard course series that is currently under development for the DATAcated Academy. So the idea here is that we're going to create a course, probably anywhere between 15 to 20 courses this year that help people go from data to dashboard using the same data to build almost the same dashboard using very different tools. So we've got a course already live on Click, Tableau, Power BI, and now we have Avery Smith here delivering a course on Python Plotly Dash. It's officially going live this Thursday, March 25th, but you can actually get it for a nice discount of 30% off as part of the pre-sale if you use the coupon code DASH30 at checkout. All right, before I continue talking too long, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mr. Smith here. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm doing great. Just another day in paradise.
Awesome. You look like you're so happy. You're like smiling.
I am happy. It's been fun making this course, and I had a really good run this morning actually. So I got like those like endorphins going already. So
I'm actually jealous. So I wanted to run, but I actually injured myself during
oh
the David
no.
Goggins running challenge. So I thought it was fine. Then I went for a run, and then I went for another run, and now I'm like, okay, I'm probably injured, but I might still run today. How long did you run?
I did 7 miles this morning. I know. Sorry to make you jealous. It was in the mountains too, so it had some
Oh,
elevation. So
so that's like 20 miles on
yeah,
the
in New York, that's the equivalent of 20 miles, I guess. Just kidding.
Yeah, I know it's true. I actually set out to do 10 miles on Saturday, and what happened was I ended up doing 7, and then the injury got too bad,
Oh
and
shoot.
my husband actually had to pick me up.
Oh
It was
dang.
sad. Yes. So Avery, for those who are not familiar with you, why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, hi everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Avery Smith. I currently run an analytics firm called Snow Data Science, where I do small consulting projects for companies in the data science world. I also do education, so courses like this. I recently just made this data dashboard course with Kate inside of the DATAcated Academy. Really excited about it. It teaches you how to go from basically just a CSV or an Excel document into a beautiful dashboard that's really interactive using the Dash library. I know we'll get more into this later on, but I love Dash. A lot of the work I do for my clients is actually based in Dash. So I do a lot of Dash for small businesses, helping them make reports or dashboards that they need to see. Before I did this, I worked as a data scientist for a little company called ExxonMobil, where yeah,
Hey.
kind of little. Yeah, maybe have heard of them. They're for those who haven't, they're the largest oil and gas provider in the United States. Where I did data science, and we also used Dash at ExxonMobil as well. One of my best contributions to the company was an application in Dash. So I've been a big fan of Dash for a long time, and I still use it pretty much every day.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I took your course, and I learned that it's you really have to write quite a bit of code to put some dashboards together. So we'll touch on that in a little bit in terms of what's actually included in the course and kind of some prerequisites that people might want to have before signing up for it. But I wanted to get a better sense of your background with Python. Kind of how did you learn it yourself? Was it on the job, or did you actually take courses yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'm actually my undergraduate degree is in chemical engineering. So I learned coding in school. I even took some coding classes like in high school and stuff. Like I don't know if you guys have seen Scratch before. It's like a kid's programming language. But then in college, I learned MATLAB for the first year or two, and then I did take a Python course in college. That kind of got me into the whole Python track. But as well. I worked as a data scientist during college as well, kind of unusual, but I used a lot of Python there as well. So it was kind of a combination of like learning in some courses and learning on the job and learning on YouTube. It was kind of a blended approach, but I became absolutely addicted super fast.
What did you like about it?
Oh man, just okay. So I think actually the syntax, it might be like pretty like daunting at first, but I think once you get a hang of it, it gets pretty simple. And then I just love, first off, that it's free. That's awesome. Like you have access to it in a snap, right? It's just free. It's there. Um, but also it's just like it is limitless. Like Python can do pretty much anything. And like you don't need to like go into any sort of different programming language or software to do anything. Like Python can kind of do everything for you. So I really like the versatility and flexibility of Python.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So, I noticed in the beginning of the course, you walk through getting Anaconda, the installer, and you use Spider. For the other Python courses that I've kind of looked at before, we use Jupyter. Is there a reason that you go with Spider, or are they the same? Are they different?
Yeah, so there's multiple IDEs, interactive development environments that you can write Python in. I personally like Spider just because it has a nice variable explorer. I think it's a little bit less like daunting. And also when you're doing Dash applications, so that's when you're making these applications using the Dash library, they ended up getting hosted on the web. And usually like a Jupyter, you can use Jupyter Lab, which is on your, your machine. But if you use Jupyter Notebook or some sort of browser solution, you're already in the browser. And so when you make these Dash applications, it's like a browser inside of a browser. It just doesn't work as well. So
Yeah.
working locally is good. And Spider's just my preferred IDE, but you can do it in VS Code or PyCharm or even just like a text file if you really wanted to. But I like some of the bells and whistles in Spider.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so one question that I've gotten from some people about the course is if they don't currently know how to program in Python, is this a course that they can take and be able to build a dashboard if they follow along with your steps, kind of step by step?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you've never taken Python before, I mean, this course might be a little bit steep, but that's
Yeah.
baptism by fire right there. And that's what you want is like, that's how you learn to code is you get thrown into the deep end and you kind of learn to swim. So, I mean, it's definitely not like, I don't go into like, well, this is like a variable. I do go like to the variable types and I do kind of explain as I go. But if you've never coded Python before, I mean, you could literally take the script that we created and just run it, and then you've kind of made your own dashboard and you can tweak things here and there. I mean, we all started somewhere and we all felt overwhelmed at one point or another. So it's just a matter of choosing what point you want to be overwhelmed and learning to swim on your way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed that you left some of your kind of typos and errors and mistakes in the course, which I absolutely love. Because sometimes you take a course and people are just like, the code is kind of happening all on its own. Everything runs perfectly. And people get freaked out when they see their first like warning, error, you messed up. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of people actually get put off. And I've had students in the past for other live courses, they're like, I can't deal with this because they were so freaked out by seeing that error. So what is your reasoning for including those in there?
Yeah, it's a tough decision because I actually, even like as an experienced Python programmer, as a data scientist, I make an error probably close to like once every minute. And I mean, you'll see that in the course. I didn't keep all of my errors. I had to reshoot a lot of the tutorials sometimes because I made too big of an error. Um, but I did keep a lot of my errors in there because that is really what programming is. Like
Mhm.
programming, people think that like if you know how to program, you're just like typing away and you're like blah, 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 blah. But the real thing that happens is you like, okay, this is what I want to do, and you're like, how do I do that? And so you Google it. I didn't leave any of my Googles in there, I don't think, but I Googled stuff because I'm like, oh, I've done this, maybe I've even done it 5 times before, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So first off, Googling's huge. And then even
Yeah.
when you Google it, you type it wrong or you forget something. And that's just a huge part of programming. It's an iterative process. It's definitely not very fluid, but that's just, I left it in there because I want all you guys to know that I still make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. And maybe where the true value might come in a course like this is how do we work through those mistakes? Because they're going to come. But I wanted to try to offer people, okay, this is how, if something breaks, this is what I look for, and this is how I try to solve it. I think that's a very valuable skill to have as a programmer.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We've got some people joining us here. So Ravit says, "Why are you so serious, Avery?" Avery,
I don't,
smile.
I don't know. I'm just a smiley guy, I guess.
Iman says, "If you're coming from R, Spider is the closest thing to R Studio. So you also use R, right?"
Yeah, and RStudio is very similar to Spider, as well as for any engineers who have used MATLAB. Spider and MATLAB are like basically the same infrastructure, looking at least.
Okay. Yeah, going back to the errors that we were talking about, Pari says that sounds cool, showing the learning process. I remember when I started coding a couple years ago, I was trying to learn R and Python simultaneously as part of my own personal daily coding challenge. And I remember clearly going to like some site and copy pasting code directly, and I would still get errors. I'm like, but I copy pasted the thing word for word. Why is it still not working? But then when you finally, it's just that when you finally get it right, it's such a level of satisfaction. And I could see it in your course where you're like, okay, let's see if this is gonna work. And you're like you're waiting for the app to refresh. You're like, yes, it worked. Awesome. Let's keep going. So I love that.
Yeah, there is no satisfaction like fixing a bug. I mean, that's what we call mistakes in coding, right? A bug. Fixing a bug in coding is like the most satisfying feeling there is. You feel like you just like climb Mount Everest and you can see the view. I don't know. It's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like it's a bigger accomplishment than just getting it right the first time. It's when you actually play around with it for even days sometimes, then you finally make it work. It's so good. So
For sure. It's an awesome feeling.
yeah. So Ravit, he says DATAcated is fantastic. Thank you. Amazing instructor joining the DATAcated gang. Thank you so much. I definitely agree. Robert's here. Simple mistakes make the world go round. They're called bugs, apparently, Robert. So let's not call them mistakes anymore. Okay, so in terms of the course, I went through it personally, but I wanted to kind of get your thoughts. So let's say I've used either, some programming language, or maybe I've used Python, but now finally want to get into Dash. After having taken this course, what will I be able to do, right? Like, what will I come away with knowing how to do?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's in the course name, right? Data to dashboard. You're going to be able to take any sort of data you have, whether it's a CSV or whether it's an Excel document. We didn't cover database, but the install, like getting the data in, is very similar. So you can take any sort of data that you have and throw it into a beautiful dashboard. And I say throw, it's a lot more, nuanced than that. But you're basically going to be able to create some sort of web page where we can actually like have a URL. You can call it whatever you want. You could say my dashboard, or maybe, if you work for Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola's dashboard of insights. And you can go to Coca-Cola dashboardinsights.com and your dashboard will pop up and it'll have graphs. It'll have user activity. Like you can be able to like tooltips and like play with the graphs and filter and zoom. It's very interactive, which is really quite fun because you're basically taking, a sheet of numbers that just sit on your computer, just numbers, right? And you're turning it into something that your eyes can digest, and it's beautiful and it's fun. And it makes, looking at numbers a lot more of a party than it would have been in just Excel. And you can obviously get automation and really nice insights from that. So after this course, you're gonna be able to create, those types of dashboards that's either gonna help you as a human being. I have a Dash application for my budget, actually. That's like how I keep track of my budget. So maybe it'll help you, or it can impress your coworkers, or maybe impress your boss and help you get, a new job or something like that. There's a lot of applications to building one of these dashboards, and you'll have a great foundation for building any sort of those.
Yeah, and I really like that you included coding with like HTML and CSS, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm learning like a lot of stuff in this course. I actually share. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen because I know you have that interactive Dash app that you share on LinkedIn. So I've got that one pulled up here, just so people can get a sense for. Let me move it here. Okay, you can see that, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep, so we've got the KPI up there. I love how you can still hover on this. And this is free, meaning not the course, but Dash. It's all free for people to use, right?
Yeah, it is. They have a premium version for enterprises. That is, I mean,
Mhm.
it's for everyone in your enterprise. And if you have something like Tableau, it's going to be like a similar price point. But the
Mhm.
nice thing is really they give you probably 98% of the features for free.
Wow. And I love how you can just like filter. It's so interactive. You can play with it just like you would any other business intelligence software. So it's almost unreal that you could just build this by yourself without having to pay a monthly fee or a subscription.
Yeah, yeah, it's just as powerful as those are. I would argue personally more. It's just a little bit of a steeper learning curve to know how to do it, because you don't get the click and drag abilities that you might in something like Tableau or Spotfire or Power BI.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I know. And I wanted to touch on that, right? Like the differences between why would somebody choose to go with Python Dash versus getting going with Tableau, Click, Power BI, or any of the other like typical spot fires and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I actually addressed that in the course. One of my favorite modules of the course is I went through and I showed you some of the galleries, is what it's called, the Dash gallery, that basically Dash shows, hey, this is what we can do with our product. And some of the stuff that people are doing with Dash is absolutely insane. I mean, they're doing like image detection, like you can upload your own image and it's going to say there's a pigeon or there's like a monkey, and it knows, because that's what you're getting with Dash is you're getting Python. And like I said at the beginning of the video, Python is so powerful, so flexible, so versatile that with this dashboard, you're having the Python engine behind it, which is going to
Yeah.
allow you to do like anything like machine learning, AI, and that's amazing. So that's kind of what you're not really getting in something like Power BI or Tableau. They do have some features that try to mimic that, but you're never going to get as good as straight up Python. It's too good.
I remember watching that section and I was like, no way. Like there was a part where you drew was it for wells or something? Was that the example where you kind of marked up this thing and
Yeah,
then like a heat map appeared? I'm like, whoa, you definitely can't just do this in one of those Power BI or Tableaus or any of those tools.
yeah. It allows for interactive machine learning and visualization, like on the fly, which is something that's very powerful. And I think you're really bringing, by using Dash, you can really bring machine learning to like the
Mhm.
people. It kind of makes it simpler for like click and drop machine learning. And this particular course, we didn't actually use any machine learning, but I mean that's what it's good for. Is it can really make a really cool interactive dashboard that also uses machine learning.
So I guess it opens up the door for that next level. It gives you a taste of what you can potentially build and build on.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because really with the dashboard that we created, that's really the guts of Dash, and then all of the machine learning is still in Python. So it's not part of Dash, but you can connect it really easily to the Dash
Mhm.
application.
Okay, cool. Cody's here. So Cody just launched his course, the Click course, last week. Thanks for your support here. He loves your take on making mistakes, bugs in code. It's part of the process. Robert, we're still talking about bugs here. Unfixed bugs can become features. Yep, I've definitely heard about that, where bugs actually became features and people like them. I'm sure that's not very common. Raul is here and he's saying, so you're saying I won't be able to create the next Skynet? I don't know
I don't think
Skynet.
I think that's Elon Musk's internet, right?
Oh,
That's like from space.
okay.
Not yet, but your Dash application can be powered by Skynet. You can access it using the Skynet, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Iman is asking, how is Dash different from the R Shiny app? Since I guess you have used R before. I don't know if you have
Yeah,
comments.
they're pretty similar, to be honest. They're pretty similar. Obviously, this version Dash we're using is in Python. Dash also has libraries in Python and in JavaScript, or sorry, in R and in JavaScript. So you can do a Dash application in R. They're actually pretty similar. The big difference is obviously R Shiny from a different company. Dash has the paid version, but they're pretty similar. I would say Dash is actually a little bit steeper of a learning curve. It doesn't have as many built-in like user features like click and drag as our Shiny does, but they're pretty similar.
Okay, I'm gonna check that one out as well, because that's gonna be another data to dashboard course with our Shiny eventually. Another. Oh, okay, Raul's just clarifying Skynet.
Oh
I don't know if
no,
it's-
I guess I was wrong. What's Elon Musk's internet called? I feel like it was also Skynet.
I don't know. How do I
Oh
not
well.
know this? Sorry.
Starlink, not Skynet. Oops, my bad.
Oh, is it Starlink? Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
sorry.
Oh well. Said's asking, does it provide the search capability like when I type something in simple language in English?
It definitely can. So, I mean, you have to think about Dash is like simply a graphical user interface dashboard framework. So it's not going to
Mhm.
do any machine learning for you, but it can have simple input sections where a human can type something in like
Mhm.
English, and then you can use Python on the back end to like do the translation or do the search or something like that. Um, it does have on its tables built in. We didn't make any tables in this dashboard, but you can like filter by typing in like, so for instance, you have a table and you want to like filter by a category and maybe the category is red. You can type in red and it'll only show you the rows from the red table.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's helpful to know. I know this course, for anyone wondering, it's not going to teach you everything you need to know about building everything in a dashboard. It gives you a taste of how do you actually take a data set and build a dashboard, and basically gives you the tutorials to get everything up and running, and then you can start tweaking the code to either add tables and all of that. Let's go to more questions. So those in the audience, definitely feel free to ask Avery questions. He said he'll stay on as long as there are questions. So if it's 6 hours later, Avery will stay here and he's going to continuously answer all your questions.
Let's go.
There's one here from Tom. Brady is a Greek god. All right.
I agree. Just for the record, I agree.
Awesome. Okay. Should I focus more on learning Dash or Power BI, or just learn them both? What are your thoughts?
I would say it depends on what your goals are. I think both are very good. I think obviously Dash gives you the Python engine behind it. So if you're doing complicated things like you need to crunch some numbers, or you need to be, involve machine learning, or you want to learn Python, or the other reason you use Dash is because, like for instance, at Exxon, we were evaluating a couple different data visualization platforms. And sometimes with third-party vendors, something like Tableau or Power BI, you do not get the customization you need to be in those dashboards. So that might be an instance where you use Dash, because Dash, you're starting with a blank canvas and you can do anything with Python. So you're kind of starting from scratch. So it kind of depends on what your needs are. If you're just making, dashboards, maybe Power BI is enough. I definitely know both of them. I don't think Power BI is like too difficult to learn as as well as Dash, just because Power BI has a lot of that point and drag and click. It's pretty intuitive. So I say learn both, but it really depends on what are you trying to go for, and will something that's more simple like Power BI or Tableau cover all your bases? If not, then Dash is probably the right way to go.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you can use Dash, I say learning Power BI, Tableau, or Click is probably going to take you, I don't know, an hour. Like
Yeah.
It's literally dragging and dropping, where you are limited by their capabilities. If you want to have that big Python engine, as you mentioned, then go with Dash. But I think from a learning curve, because I know Power BI, and it took me very quick to learn it, because I already knew Tableau, and they have, there's so many similarities, and Click as well. But for Dash, there's it's code, right? So you're writing code. It's not dragging and dropping things. So it's just a difference. I think from a career perspective, I'd say both have great, jobs available, depending on also what you enjoy doing. If you don't enjoy coding, then stay on the business intelligence side of things and don't hate your life. I mean, I don't know what to say. But if you love coding, I say go for Dash, because then you can just do a lot more. Still on that topic, Raul's asking, can you, and I don't know why you'd want to do this, maybe you do, can you output Dash into a Tableau or Power BI for a corporation?
That's a good question. I don't think you can, but let me tell you why you don't have to, is because you can, and we cover this in the course, you can deploy your dashboard straight to the internet. So like Kate earlier, I can't remember what my dashboard ended up being called. Was it called? I don't know.
It's Avery's dashboard.herokuapp.com.
Yeah, so like you guys can go there right now and check it out. Like you guys have access to my dashboard by just going to a simple URL. And so that makes it really easy for everyone to go look at that dashboard and try it all at once versus at Tableau or Power BI. I know they have similar features, but often you need like a a license, right, for Tableau or Power BI versus Dash. It's just on the internet. Anyone can go there, send it to your boss, your friend, your mom, whoever.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, actually, I put the link to the app in the comments, and I'm putting the link to the course if people want to go check that out and learn
how
more.
Easy that is, guys? You guys don't need any sort of, you just need the link in the internet and you're getting access to a dashboard. Bam.
Yeah, I think that is one of the limitations from the BI tools is if you want to share something. Well, Tableau I know has Tableau Public, and some other ones you can save it as a PDF or you can send that. But if you want to show off your interactive skills, building something in Dash, you can share that just like on LinkedIn or whatever, and have people go explore and check it out.
Yes. I will not. I won't claim that it's easy to deploy to the internet. It's probably, as Kate can testify, I think it's a 40-minute tutorial in the course. But I walk you through every step. So if you take the course, it'll be easier for you. But yeah, it's kind of a temperamental process, but it's free, so you can't complain.
It's easy to share once you've got the link, is what I meant.
It is very easy to share. Once it's there, it's very easy. Getting it there.
Then we can, send it to the internet. The internet will know what to do. There you go. Okay, so let's move on to talking about data visualization, data storytelling, dashboarding, and just maybe spend a few minutes talking about some of your go-to tips and advice for those who want to make better data visualizations and dashboards.
Oh, that is a good question. Always keeping your end user in mind, I think, is key, right? Because you want to make sure that whoever you're trying to make this dashboard from, you don't really care about them looking at the dashboard. You want to help them make the best decisions from the data you're portraying on the dashboard. So I think that's number one thing, is just keep your end user in mind. Like, what does this person need to know, and how do I best display it to them? That's going to help them make an easy decision. But of course, and I mean, Kate, you know all about this, and you have courses about this. You want to keep in mind that what is easy for humans to see. Like, what do we understand? Bar charts, we understand really well. Colors, we understand really well. You know, make good use of colors, make good use of shapes. Make sure, I know one thing we covered in the course is we want to be able to see the whole dashboard in one view so that people don't have to like scroll or click. Make sure your most important information is at the top of the page, right? And it's really big. I know on the dashboard that we did for this course, we had that huge KPI. It's like way big text. And it's like, this is important information. It's almost screaming, look here, like, please look at me. So, I mean, that would be my advice is use line charts, bar charts as much as you can. Put the most important thing on the top of the page, and just keep in mind that your user is going to make decisions from the data you're showing them, and be cognitive of how you're showing it so that it's easy for them to make those decisions.
Yes, I definitely agree, especially the point about keeping things simple and sticking with the commonly recognized bar charts, line charts, and things like that. I cover a lot of this in my DATAcated storytelling course, which is like a 3-4 hour course just on telling stories of data. And I go over all the visual best practices and kind of having, telling people to try and avoid the data viz art types of diagrams, because most of the time people sit there and they kind of think through, how do I even use this? Like, what am I even looking at? Like, it's so gorgeous. It's beautiful. It probably took you a week to put together. But what am I looking at, right? It's like a flower and it's so pretty. It's great for grabbing attention. But again, if you're trying to get a message across, I definitely agree. Simple is always better. And you mentioned keeping the dashboard on one page. For the most part, I would agree with you that, keeping it all in one view is best. George Farrakhan actually presented at the DATAcated conference in February, and he shared a topic called data scrolly telling. Not sure if you were able to tune in. It's called scrolly telling for a reason, because on your phone you get dashboards like,
Oh yeah.
let's say YouTube, right? You get a dashboard and you can kind of scroll through the dashboard because it doesn't all fit on your mobile phone. So there is another concept of scrolling
Oh
through it. Yeah, for
yeah.
smaller screens.
That is awesome. And if I have some really good examples, the New York Times is the best at this in the world, and they will make the most beautiful, like scrolly telling dashboards you've ever seen. And you get to follow a story as you
Yeah.
scroll, and it's so interactive and it's so animated. Those are really cool. I really like those. Those are way harder to make. A lot of the time, like especially those ones from the New York Times, are made in JavaScript in D3. And like if you think there's a step from Power BI to Dash, the step from Dash to D3 is, I mean, it's
Do I
really
need an
insane.
airplane for that?
Yeah, you
Get
do
a
need an
hop on a
airplane.
helicopter?
Yeah, it's very steep. I'm not a D3 JavaScript expert, but it's amazing. With that, you're getting even more customizability. But anyways, it's crazy. Those are cool too.
Awesome. And it looks like Raul said he just enrolled. Welcome.
Hey,
Welcome to the course.
two
Awesome.
thumbs up from me.
Yes.
Thanks, Raul.
Yes, thank you for the support, Raul. Tom, see, I don't want to read the whole thing again. It's
We'll just call
distracting.
him Tom.
Tom was asking, how should I go about displaying the ability to monitor KPIs on my portfolio?
What I wonder what Tom means by portfolio. Are we talking like financial portfolio, or are we talking like
Mm,
examples?
yeah, I'm not too sure. Maybe Tom, maybe provide some more context so we can answer that question better. And Sai is saying he subscribes to New York Times just for those dashboards. I guess that's the scrolly telling ones that
Oh,
you were talking
the
about.
the New York Times they're the best at data visualization in the world, in my opinion. They're fantastic.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have to
they're
check
super
them
good.
out. How am I not familiar with this?
Oh
Okay.
man, I'll
On my
send you a
list.
link. Look up, and everyone watching, look up how, I think it's called How the Virus Won or something like that by the New York
Okay.
Times. And it is like the most fascinating story of COVID you've ever scrolled through. It like goes
Oh,
through and it shows how COVID spread in the United States, and it's very entertaining. It's sad
okay.
too, but very entertaining.
I was gonna say entertaining is probably not the best choice of words,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's okay.
As a data nerd, it's very good. It is a sad topic, and yeah, it's a sad topic for sure.
Yeah, but I'll definitely check that out. Thank you. Okay, question here from Daniel. Does Dash Python library play well on Google Colab?
Yes, and to be honest, no, because it can, but the whole application runs, and you'll see this in the course. It runs kind of as one bigger script, and Collab is really better for cells, right? So it can, but I wouldn't recommend it. I recommend using a scripting solution versus a notebook solution. Daniel, if you've used Plotly, I would first start with Plotly in Google Colab and playing with that, because Plotly, for those who don't know, is also made by the same company that Dash is. It is actually like the graphs that Dash uses, and they're rendered in kind of an HTML browser form too. So start playing with Plotly in Google Colab, and if you think that's simple, maybe upgrade to Dash. But even Plotly in a notebook solution, it's kind of iffy. Most of these are meant to be browser solutions from a scripting IDE, but you can do it probably. It just might not be fun.
Okay, all right. Thanks for sharing that. And I know we spoke about data viz, best practices, and all that, but I wanted to talk on customization and how easy it is to actually customize down to the very lowest level of detail in Dash versus maybe some of these, out of the box tools. I know it's probably simple to quickly change a color of a bar chart in, the BI tools, but in Dash, do you have more, I guess, flexibility in terms of how you customize things?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. There's a trade-off, right, between how easy something is to do
Yeah.
and how specific you want it to look at the end. Like you can't have both really. So yeah, in Power BI or Tableau, you right click on something, you change the color with one click. In Dash, often the colors are set via like RGB values or hex values. So even getting the color you want, you have to like go to online and figure out, okay, this is the value I want. What's the hex value for it? And you have to type
Mhm.
it in your code. So it's a little bit harder. But the thing that you do get is like, if you want to create one of my favorite things I've ever made in Dash, I literally like no one else has made it in the world because I made it from scratch, right? Like I made this dashboard with like unique shapes that like represents the stuff I wanted to show. And I couldn't do that in like Tableau or Power BI because it's so customized. So it's a balance between how quick it is to do something and how customized you want it to be. So you just have to evaluate those in your choice. But changing colors, I changed on that chart, I changed it from a pie chart to a donut chart. That's just like one line of code. So it's not too bad.
Okay, yeah, I saw that. Thank you. And Raul has shared the link. So this is for people who want to check out that coronavirus spread interactive dashboard. I'm going to look at that after our live stream here. So thank you for sharing that. And Daniel said he checked pip install dash complete in about 20 seconds. So
Yeah, the pip install should work, but I don't know if you're going to be able to create anything. I would try copying and pasting some stuff into Collab first and seeing if it works from Dash's like
don't
examples.
get your hopes up, Daniel, is what he's trying to say.
it, it'll download for sure. I just don't know if it'll be super. It could be. I've to be honest, I've never done it, but anyways.
Okay, well, Daniel, keep us posted if you're doing it
Yeah.
now. So would be interesting to hear. And George Farrakhan is here. George, thank you for joining. We were just talking about your storytelling session at the DATAcated conference. So he said he's heard great things about this course. That's awesome. Mr. Brady, Tom Brady is a Greek god is back. So here's some more detail. He's working on the general data science portfolio. Okay,
Nice.
so that's his project portfolio. There's one job he's interested in, and the main job function is monitoring KPIs. And I'm wondering how to show those skills on my portfolio.
That's a great question. Here's something that I've thought about, Tom, is like I want to make a resume in Dash. I think that'd be really cool and send that to employers. And like at the top, you could have like the number of, I don't know, minutes you've coded in your life. I tried to calculate that once, by the way. It was a fun exercise. But like you could like demonstrate how good you are at like monitoring KPIs by providing some of your own KPIs in your life. Maybe you could take a hobby, for instance, and you can make a Dash application about a hobby. So for instance, Kate loves to run. Um, I kind of like to run. I end up doing it a lot. I don't know if I love it. But like for instance, it'd be interesting to build a Dash application. I know Kate you use Runkeeper, right?
Yeah.
And I use Strava, and I just exported all my Strava data the other day. It'd be fun to like make a dashboard with KPIs, and maybe I'm monitoring like my average miles per hour or my weekly miles ran or something like that. So take something that you enjoy in your life. And if the job, I like what you said, you looked at the job and it's like it monitors KPIs. You want to show I'm good at that. I think you just do it. I mean, you just do it and you add that to your resume and you say, hey, look at this personal project I did about managing KPIs for my running activity. That would blow me away if I was an employer or a recruiter.
Absolutely. I was going to suggest actually running because that's I always love to visualize all my running stats. The other thing I would suggest is most people here are on LinkedIn. You can also export your LinkedIn stats and look at your connections and there are different KPIs you can look at that you can also report on. So as Avery said, look at the things you care about. Chances are there's data around it. If not, you can collect the data around it and then visualize it or put it in a dashboard. Okay, we've got a comment here from Robert. So this is going back to the customization topic, Avery. So he says it's almost like the difference between learning HTML, CSS, and using Wix to create websites. There's a trade-off, right? That customization and ease.
For sure. One bonus that I don't think we've talked about enough, Kate, and I didn't really think about it until I started getting into the course, is this course is going to teach you Python, it's going to teach you Dash, but I also give an introduction to CSS, HTML, and then Git. That's another thing we covered is how to use like GitHub and stuff like that. So those are also some added bonuses that are in the course as well.
Yes, and then this is actually an interesting question from Camilla. She's asking, what is the length of the course? And that's a great question that I don't even have an answer to. My vision for the courses were to be somewhere between like 60 to 90 minutes, but I have a feeling this course is probably at maybe the 2 hour mark or more, because we cover things like I cover the aspects of visual best practices, selecting the right chart, and sketching your dashboards, and kind of what is a dashboard. We go through all of that, and then Avery touches on all things Python and Dash, and he's provided a whole bunch of bonus content. So I'd say it's easily over 2 hours, but don't quote me on it, even though I just said it. Like, we have to do the math and add up the curriculum.
Yeah, I think it's probably about that. But like, for instance, one of the bonus videos, I'm looking at the course right here, is sharing on LinkedIn, and that's 10 minutes long. So based on what you're interested in, which I think you should be interested, anything you make, I think you should share on LinkedIn. But yeah, probably 2 hours is accurate.
Yeah, and I love your teaching style, because it's like having your own mentor sitting on your laptop that just says,
Thanks.
"All right, you made it. Now go share it. Go do it." And I'm like, "Yes, I'm gonna go do it." It's
You
very
should.
motivating at the same time. So,
Yeah.
all right, so I think we're at time here. But Avery, before we wrap up, I just want to ask, where can people go to continue the conversation if they have more questions, or do they follow you on LinkedIn? Do you have a website? What's your preference?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, my LinkedIn is always open. So if you're watching not on LinkedIn, go ahead and add me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to take any questions about this course or data science in general. I'm happy to answer any of those. I do have a site where I teach other courses. I'm in the middle of making some new courses. It's averysmith.podia.com. I'm still working on a better name for that and a better URL. But yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best way to find me. And of course, you can also find this course on DATAcated Academy. So check me out there too.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much, Avery, for your time. And thanks for everybody who's tuned in and provided great questions and comments. Just lastly, the course goes live this Thursday. So in 3 days, if you want to take that 30% off, just use -30 at checkout. All right. On that note, thank you. Happy Monday. Have a great day. Enjoy the kind of warming weather if you're on the East Coast. It's spring now. So, all right. Enjoy your week.
Yeah, thanks everyone.